In-person meeting planning can be a lot to manage, but that's where Troop Planner comes in. From organizing an executive offsite, department meeting, or team retreat, Troop Planner is built to make life easier for busy assistants like you. Troop keeps it simple, fast, and organized. From choosing the perfect location to managing budgets, coordinating travel, and tracking attendee details, Troop brings everything together in one easy-to-use platform so you can save time and focus on what matters most. Visit leaderassistant.com/Troop to learn more.
Hi, everybody. My name is Matt Oden. I'm the CEO of Execify. Today's leadership quote comes from Yogi Berra, and it is, "When you come to a fork in the road, take it." And that quote means a lot to me because as an entrepreneur and someone involved in startups, you don't have a lot of time always to evaluate what the best path is going to be. And you can't always model or predict what's going to lead to the best outcome. And so what you find time and time again is when you get to a fork, when you get to a decision point in your job, in your career, in your daily flow, you have to pick a road. And the faster you can commit, do that, try a route and fail, you can always come back and try the other route. So I try and remind myself when I get to an impasse, when I'm stuck in decision paralysis, just pick the best direction you think is available to you and go for it. And that quote means a lot to me in terms of unlocking on a daily basis.
The Leader Assistant podcast exists to encourage and challenge assistants to become confident, game-changing leader assistants.
Hey friends, my best-selling book, The Leader Assistant, has a companion study and discussion guide to go along with it. It's called the Leader Assistant Workbook. Now, you can buy the Kindle ebook version of the Leader Assistant Workbook on Amazon, or you can go to leaderassistantbook.com and get a printable PDF version of the workbook. This version has all the space and margin in between the questions that you can write your own answers and take notes with. So it's a great way to print it out and keep track of your discussion and study guide notes. Again, go to leaderassistantbook.com and click on Workbook to check out the Leader Assistant Workbook. Hey friends, welcome to the Leader Assistant Podcast. It's episode 321, and you can check out the show notes for this conversation at leaderassistant.com/321. leaderassistant.com/321. Check out the show notes and find out all the links and all the fun stuff for this episode. So thank you so much for joining. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. I'm excited to be speaking with Matt Oden today. Matt is the CEO of Execify, and we're going to learn more a little bit about what they do soon. But first of all, Matt, where are you in the world, and what's your favorite thing to do when you're not working?
All right, Jeremy, I am in Los Angeles, California, and my favorite thing to do when I'm not working is to get outside. So I like to mountain bike, surf, and hike, and play with my kids. So that's what keeps me busy when I get off of my laptop.
Nice. How many kids do you have?
I have 3 boys.
Wow. Now I've got 2 boys, so I know the all boys world. Are they? How old are they?
My boys are 10, 12, and 7.
Okay. Are they in all the sports and all that fun stuff?
They
are you
do.
kind of driving around at practices all the time?
It is a caravan of carpools and sporting events, baseball, karate. They love to ski and go to the beach, and I keep them pretty active. So I'm hoping long term they keep me young, right? If I teach them how to move around, they'll pull me in as I get older.
Awesome. That's great. Well, let's just talk a little bit about your career first, and then we'll get into the idea of executive operations and, how we as assistants work with CEOs and executives like yourself to be productive and really strategic in the executive operation world. But tell us a little bit about your career and your journey and why or how you ended up starting this company.
Yeah, sure thing, Jeremy. First I'll say longtime fan of your podcast, so thanks for having me on today.
Yeah.
Love the leader assistant community and everything it's done for the space, and really anchored a lot of the dialogue. I mean, you're so active. Your book is awesome. So excited to be here. And I'll tell you, my career has been a jagged journey, you might call it, right? There's this term, a jagged resume. When you look at it, I've done a lot of different things. I've been working since I was, 13, 14 years old. I've worked for, 50, 60 different companies in my life, and really started, at the bottom to the middle, went through school, got educated, and went out into the workforce, and started working in the tech sector. After kind of my first career, which was in sustainability and greenhouse gas emissions, where I had a master's in that, worked at the United Nations internationally, spent time living abroad in Africa and India and Europe for several years, eventually came back to the States, lived on the East Coast, worked in Manhattan, and eventually came back to California, where I grew up and lived in the Bay Area for years and now live in Los Angeles. And through that journey in tech, I've worked for, a dozen and another half a dozen as an advisor and involved in the startup community, and primarily startup companies, but have also worked for several public companies at scale. On the executive team, I've worked as a product manager, a sales engineer, a sales manager, a designer, and an operations specialist. And throughout that journey, I've had executive assistants assigned to me that I've worked with. I've had really stellar ones. I've had mediocre ones. I've been involved in pool EA resources where we could draw from EAs internationally, especially doing Europe travel. And I've also been able to leverage when I reported in public company to the C-suite, to the CRO, the CRO's EA against the management and leadership team that would help us organize offsites and key customer events and help keep the overall team sorted on behalf of the CRO. So I've touched the EA function as a business operations leader from several angles and gathered a lot of experience there. And one of the things that I notice is that a lot of people kind of introduce a style, but if you distill it down, everyone is really using the same tools. Now, it depends on the company, but generally everyone's got calendars going, emails going, a messaging system, whether that's Slack or Teams primarily, and a variety of different travel apps and tasks apps. And I realized that there really wasn't a standard. And so what that did within the organization is it created a really, in some cases, a really inefficient interaction model, because different execs would switch EAs. There would be layoffs. Some EAs would be kept. Some executives would be, cut from the company, needing to remap, reassign. And that process, I think, is overly cumbersome, because not only does the EA not always know what the executive wants, but the executive doesn't know what the EA's talent profile is, their capability sets are. And so that kind of ends up with this effect of lowering the bar for everybody, because you sort of start small and incrementally work your way up into more sophisticated and strategic projects. And so as I looked at that problem over many years, and also as a power user with 100 Chrome windows open, and the hardest point of my career was middle management, when I didn't have an EA. And you're booking all your own travel, organizing all your own offsites. I had teams in the US and Europe simultaneously. I'm doing customer meetings. I got an inside view into rebooking flights, booking hotels week after week, getting room blocks, organized, setting up all hands calls. So I had felt that pain myself in organizing my teams and my meetings, was able to offload that with EAs and realize, really, Jeremy, there has to be a better way, right? One of those kind of cliche things, which is there has to be a way to create a better foundation for the function so that the EA community and EA practitioners, and we like to call it executive operations, kind of as a holistic function of EAs, admins, chiefs of staff, kind of that cloud of people that help to enable and create value in the C-suite primarily. We thought there has to be a way to help to standardize that function within the enterprise. And so through our user research, where we've worked with over 500 EAs through demos and testing, and now that we're live in the market with Execify, people can sign up with Google and Microsoft. We're getting tons of user feedback in terms of what will help to establish and accelerate basic workflows. And those are workflows across scheduling, calendaring, information querying, communicating that information, creating AI workflows that can be reused and repurposed to take some of the minutia off of people's plates. And that's really the research and development we've been doing, is how do we help to semi-automate, because we are strong proponents that AI is not taking EA jobs. You see a lot of clickbait articles and hype about, oh no, watch out. And we see feedback from our users. In fact, when I do outreach and prospecting, Jeremy, every couple of weeks I'll get a note back like, no thanks, looks like you're trying to take my job. And we're always like, no, right. I do not believe AI can replace a human being. However, from an executive's perspective, from a technologist's perspective, EAs will be expected to do more. Because everyone knows you can write an agenda now in 3 minutes. Everybody knows you can come up with a great graphic for the offsite and put together a slide deck in 25 minutes. Now, often that's draft material. It's just a starting place. But the bar and the velocity of business is going up. And so what we're trying to do is help EAs leverage AI so they can cut off 5 minutes here, 20 minutes on scheduling a group of 5 people to meet next week there. And through that, allow people through automation and semi-automation to get back into the strategic work and out of these hundreds and hundreds of clicks that are required across multiple tabs and multiple apps by consolidating those workflows and that application footprint into one tab on your browser and allowing you to work more efficiently, keep more organized, and automate the parts of your work that honestly most people don't enjoy, right? The number one pain point that we found is group scheduling. And so we've spent a lot of time attacking that problem and providing a tool that can help people set up a group meeting from a single pane or a single tab within their browser.
The ping-pong back-and-forth game of manually scheduling meetings is unnecessary and inefficient in today's automated world. It's time to embrace calendar automation for increased productivity and capacity. You Can Book Me by Capacity is my favorite automated booking solution. It's a game changer for me and my executive. You can manage scheduling for your entire executive team, send automated reminders, add buffer time between appointments, and much more. You Can Book Me integrates with your existing Microsoft and Google calendars so you can add automation without disrupting your current workflow. Go to leaderassistant.com/calendar to learn more and sign up for a free trial of this powerful scheduling automation tool. That's leaderassistant.com/calendar. Nice. So you obviously, with all the research you did and you kind of touched on this, like there's got to be a better way. Was there another push or was there like a, hey, I've got to scratch this entrepreneurial itch? Like what was the push that really pushed you to let's actually do this? Like in your Yogi Berra quote, a fork in the road, like, well, yeah, there's got to be a better way, but do I really need to be the one to do this? Do I really need to be the one to tackle this and take that risk? Like what was your, what pushed you through to actually start the company and go for it?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so many ways to answer that. These are deep, rationales for who we are. And at my core, creation is what drives me. I love to create things and I love people. So the growing this business gives me an incredible way to connect with a very diverse, interesting audience, connected to very interesting companies that are trying to accelerate and make these companies more productive at the end of the day. So from an intellectual and business perspective, very motivating, very grounding. We get to create screens and cool graphics and all these things that are allow you to kind of have like an artistic outlet, even though you think you're a technologist. You are doing a lot of art, a lot of design, what that experience is going to look for. So it serves as an outlet. But I'll tell you the kind of origin story, which was that I was laid off. So, I had worked for a Series A company. I had a team of 19 globally. And we went out and we were trying to get this product to market and sell it. And it just wasn't catching on time compared to how big the staff was and everything. So I, with, half the team, was let go. And, it wasn't the first time in my career. Startups are tough. They come and they go, and you work really hard. And sometimes I've been lucky enough that I've been with companies that have made it. Now, this wasn't the case. And so here I was out in the job market, and I picked up some advisory work and was working in some cloud technology systems. And I was doing that work and trying to buy myself a little bit of time, Jeremy, like with the deep questions, like, what do I want to do with my life, right? What is important to me? I want to start a company. What is it? And then one day, I was in my kitchen eating cheese and crackers over the sink, stress eating. And I had an interview call and I was on some email threads and I watched this thread develop. And it was like 7 people and 19 emails later, we still didn't have a time to meet with 3 people. And I saw the EA coming in and out. And I looked at that. And in that moment, I said out loud, why the F hasn't anyone built a platform for EAs? It just seemed absurd. And I realized in that moment the opportunity that was out there, the opportunity to build a SaaS category within the business that didn't exist yet, which we didn't have a name for it yet, which has since become what we like to call an executive operations platform, right? We do a lot of AI, and I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit later, and how that works and kind of what the fundamentals are on the technology stack. But what I realized was there wasn't that place where they could log in, that EAs had been inheriting tools from their bosses and from IT, and they were sort of expected to kludge them together and lay down an operations platform on how you run the logistics and operation for the executive team or for their manager. And some organizations are more mature, right? There's different maturity curves. Some have a lot of systems. Some have absolutely zero. I would say most kind of wing it from what I've seen. Even the big companies. Senior EAs come in. They're very talented. They pull up Outlook. They get the permissions. They start tasking the notes and email flows. They get a rhythm with their boss. And that begins the program. But what happens when they leave? What happens when a new exec comes on? Why is scheduling done in a slightly different style with this person versus that person when they're out sick, right? From an executive's perspective, it creates a lot of inconsistency. And from a business perspective, you lack the continuity and the repeatability, especially when you talk about onboarding, offboarding, ramp times, expectations, SLAs. Is an EA responsible for doing contact hygiene? Are they responsible for scheduling, calendar cleanup, email triage? And so we've started to really modularize that stuff so you could have a mixed pattern across teams of multiple EAs covering exec and vice versa, so that different people could cover different tasks. And then you get all of the analytics and all the automation in a single place across all your primary tool set. And so that's what I really realized in that moment was here you have a community of people that have inherited tools. Most of the people in the organization have no idea what an EA does. And so they get down leveled, right, socially and through like banding within like seniority in the company. And it's tragic because I've worked with incredibly talented EAs working for very senior people and even really talented ones working for junior people, right, that are rising stars in their career. And they don't necessarily have a great way of explaining the service that they provide to the company. You get to a performance report, and it's like, I've been so busy, right? What we allow you to do is say, I scheduled 39 meetings last month. I touched 164 people. Here's the status of these operational workflows. I've set up these recurring AI jobs that automatically pull information for us so that I can focus on the human touch elements, the things that are the highest value work, to make the executives more productive and to make the company overall more efficient. And people are looking at the job function, because I've worked in these companies, and they think, it's so cliche, but I'll say it, Jeremy, like, oh, could you make sure there's coffee in our meeting? And then I was like, watch that happen in corporate. And I'd like see somebody do that, treat somebody that way, and think, you have no idea who you're talking to. That EA knows that there's a layoff next week. Right. That EA knows that their boss doesn't like you. They are so interwoven into the fabric of the leadership. And I thought, oh, you have all of these leaders. They don't have a great way to platform their function within the business because Outlook's not building for, Microsoft's not building for EAs. They'll give a head nod, but they won't go full in like we have. Google's the same because they have to build generalized products. Same with Calendly, same with all of these applications. They're not EA-specific tool sets or executive operations-specific tool sets. And I realized, the EAs are so socially connected. They know each other often very well within these organizations. And if we can cater to that community and be really, really purposeful in building tools for them, that we could actually get a product to market, build momentum, and save people millions and millions of clicks.
Yeah.
And so that all kind of came together over the kitchen sink while I was, overeating. And, and ever since that day, I called my co-founder. About 3 days later, I went and started trial pitching the idea to some friends in the startup community. And unlike other ideas historically, Jeremy, where people are like, have 100 questions, like, what exactly would that do? And they don't really get your startup idea, because I've had hundreds in my career. With this one, people started saying, oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, you could probably really use that. I started getting the head nods. And then I reached out to some EAs I knew. And they said, yeah, some of those ideas would be extremely helpful. And this was early in the research, right? And the way I like to build a company is like, don't assume we know the problem. Don't assume we know the answer. Talk to the users, understand the job function, understand what they're really dealing with, and then build around those points of friction, right? And say, okay, well, we could take 19 clicks and make it 4. Is that helpful? And get that validation and then build in. Yeah. And so through that process, we started, I called my co-founder a few days later and said, Will Overton, and we had worked together at a couple companies before. He's our CTO. And I said, Will, I think I've got it. And he said, it's good timing. I'm thinking about doing something else too. And and we came together. This was a year and a half we spent doing research and development before we brought the product out beyond our test groups and pilots and things into the public domain. And ever since that day, this would have been in 2023 in the fall, we have been purely focused on building Execify and working closely with the community. So that's the long version, but that's where we founded and decided to build the company from.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. And as hire number 1 at Capacity, and we're now at like 200 employees or something. I love the startup stories, and startup life is not for everyone, and it's certainly difficult and challenging, but yeah, fun to hear the origin story. So thanks for doing that. What would you say, now that you've kind of launched and gotten some users going and gotten some feedback, what would you say is the number one use case that is maybe by volume even that's being used, or by positive feedback is being used? Like if somebody's listening right now and they're like, okay, I get it. It sounds like a cool idea, but what's the one problem or pain point that you're solving over and over again?
Yeah. So I'll talk about 2 things. The number one pain point that people are aware of, that they talk about all the time, is scheduling group meetings, right? Calendly, Google, Outlook have all sort of done the same thing. They've said, okay, here's a partial or a full view of a calendar, pick a time, schedule a one-on-one meeting. What about when you have 3 people involved, 4 people involved, 5 people involved? None of these platforms have taken on that problem. And I think about 4 months into trying to solve that and build it, Will and I were sitting on Zoom calls saying, like, we understand why no one has done this. This is really hard to figure out a conceptual workflow on how you resolve to find a group meeting time for a group of people, whether internal, external, hybrid, Zooms, how do you work across the tool if you're a manager? And so we've spent a lot of time developing that tool. That tool is saving people anywhere from like 2 minutes to 2 hours every time they use it to schedule a meeting, depending on the complexity. Yeah. It also puts all of the information and commenting against times all in one place. So it eliminates the need to use Slack and Teams for the in-between internal, and it eliminates all of the email threads to get time. So you can propose multiple times, have people kind of coordinate around those, a little bit of, either direct organization or group like self-selection around times, because there's a social hierarchy often involved. It's kind of the unsaid part of scheduling. So we've developed stages where you can say, okay, get these availabilities and then offer those times to the next group of people. And you have a lot of different options there. So it's really a power tool for EAs where you can stay within that management platform for a scheduling operation and get all the different comments, be able to re-trigger messages, remind people, loop back. And so that's the tool that is really saving people time immediately out of the gate. But I think the long-term opportunity is around what we're doing with AI Assist and AI Actions on the platform. And I won't explain the technology, how it works right now, except I'll just say we've got, a dozen agents running under the hood, all connected to email, calendar, so that you can ask specialized things that are relevant to executive operations. But long term, effectively what you can do is you can with voice or typing, create an AI prompt like, hey, pull up Jeremy's schedule for tomorrow with anyone external and put it in a table and make the first column the title and the next column the start time. And you can define that prompt and then I can run it. And if I was your EA, Jeremy, it would go through your calendar and it would pull it up and it would collate it into that table and it would present it. And then I can say with prompt, okay, now Slack that to Jeremy, send it on Teams, email it to him. And then I can go one level beyond that and say, actually, I'm going to schedule that. Hey, Jeremy, every morning at 7 a.m., you're going to get a really clean read of your meetings for the day. And it's going to have a column with links to the notes or something. Whatever my or our custom business operation is to make you more efficient, I can design that, tune it, get it working for you, and that's going to then free me up to go work on something else that's more strategic and more beneficial to build velocity in the business. So our AI Actions tool, I think, has the highest long-term potential. Not in terms of automating a job. You still need to design these queries. You still need to understand how your business runs. Like this, we're not going to figure out who every single individual person and every organization wants to run and then be able to automate that. Technology is just not going to be there, even if other virtual assistant technologies and things are promising that. Right. It's just a long, long way off, if ever, because they would have to know your boss likes to sit in the aisle. They have an allergy. They, don't like to meet with that person. And that amount of training and knowledge for the foundational model stuff, it's just not anything soon. So we take a stance where we say, we'll put you in control of designing and orchestrating these AI jobs. You can run them on demand when you click. Hey, generate this piece of information and analysis that I need. You can run them on a schedule. Hey, run this every Thursday. Every Thursday, email from my boss. Hey, sales team, don't forget to update your pipeline. Great little use case. That email will go out with an AI kind of script. It will write it a little bit differently, look very natural, allows you to put natural operations into place, actually coming out of your boss's email account or out of your email account. Because on our platform, you can work across as many accounts as you want simultaneously from one tab. And so I think that EAs will really benefit long term in being able to, and chiefs of staff and executive operations directors and leaders, by saying, okay, we actually have dozens of these jobs running that keep everything moving more quickly, so that when things come in or something's on fire, our head is a little bit clearer to go deal with those things and to think about them in a holistic way. And so that's really the two areas where I think we're going to provide a lot of time savings as well as incremental value to the enterprise.
Nice. Yeah, I love that. And it's, a lot of times people are like, oh, what AI tool should I use and assistants especially, it's like every day I feel like there's a new post on a forum. It's like, hey, which AI tools do you use for your job? And I
Yeah.
think that oftentimes EAs are, they're well intended, but they go at it the wrong way in the sense of they try to go explore all of these tools
Mm.
and they don't have the pain point or the problem they're trying to solve.
Yes.
And so it's like one of the way I think Pat Flynn is actually has a book on
Mm.
this, but I can't remember the title. But basically, his idea of learning things as you need them.
Ah,
In other
ah,
words, instead
yeah.
of going out and trying to just read all these books, take all these certification courses, learn all these AI tools, go to all the Harvard and the Coursera and the LinkedIn learning AI stuff,
Yeah.
and just absorbing all this information. Actually, like it'd be like this. A good example would be like if you have a car and you want to be able to fix your car, right? Like you're
Mhm.
not going to go read the manual and learn every little thing about the car. You're going to try to
Yeah.
figure out what is wrong with it. Well, it won't start. Okay, well, now I'm going to go zoom in on, okay, this car
Hmm.
won't start. How do I get it to
Hmm.
start? And I'm going to go look on YouTube. I'm going to go watch a video of this guy has the same truck as me and it didn't start and this is what they did to figure it out. I'm not going to go read the manual about the fuel injector system or, you
Yeah.
know, how to replace the tire and all this. Like you just need to know and you need to learn what you need to learn to solve the problem you're trying to solve. And so I think it's
Yeah.
this idea of like what's the pain point? And like you mentioned, group scheduling, if that's a pain point for people, day in and day out that they're trying to solve, then yeah, go look at Execify, go find a solution to this problem. And that's how I think the leader assistants of the world will really embrace automation in a way that helps them scale their work, helps
Mm.
them support more people if their company's requiring it, helps them have more time for strategic work. And so I love how you put that where it's like, listen, this group scheduling and the AI agents are going to save the most time and free you up the most. And if those are again pain points and use cases that assistants listening have, then they should
Mhm.
explore it. Versus this kind of general vague, oh, I'm going to go learn all this AI and hope to find something useful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would hope that it would resonate because we've worked with over 500 and we're getting more people on the platform giving feedback now. So
Totally.
hopefully we get a bit of a help from the community to come in and tell us, where should this platform head? Because that's a big part of our strategy is really being user obsessed, like they say in the tech culture, right? It's like,
Yeah.
we want to know. I ask questions that are very boring on some of these calls to really understand what's the friction point? How do we unlock that? And then we go back and try and get really creative and say, oh, whoa, that could be solved in a way that's never really been done. Let's get building. I think you bring up a really good point on the time savings, the operational repeatability stuff. The car analogy is great. I save $500 every year changing my own fuel filter kind of
Right.
thing. And
Right.
I YouTube video, right, and run down to auto parts because the dealership just charges a fortune. So I think that analogy is great. The other thing, Jeremy, and we've talked about this before, right, that a lot of people will know in 2 years from now, but are just starting to understand is like the different types of AI that are available. And most of what we've all seen so far is AI is like 50 different things. It's been around for years and years, okay?
Hmm.
But it's generative AI is the new thing. The prompting, the chat GPT, that tech has really blown a lot of us away, right? Now you see like they're going towards artificial general intelligence. Big hot space right now is like video creation from prompt, and you've got different approaches from like Adobe and Sora on the GPT side. And it creates a really interesting scenario because if you think about like what do people need and where are these companies heading, if you look at what GPT just taking like an example from AI is building on video, it's very important for them in their latest releases with Sora to have like object continuity and object tracking. The pixel frame rate can be, good quality, but doesn't need to be perfect. As long as the video continues, it helps them with their research and development towards generalized things. Whereas Adobe, their video tool needs to be high fidelity, pixel perfect, because it's a designer tool. So their roadmaps are varying quite a bit. And so you might have a problem and see these different tools, but you need to understand that they're heading in very different directions. And what we've done, and I'll say this briefly, that's very different than ChatGPT and Claude and all the AI tools, and we don't touch the design stuff like Canva and all that. It's very different is, yes, we can generate an email template and a meeting agenda for you from our prompt engine. No problem. That's all basically off the shelf available in the market today. And you can even now on our platform pull in context from email and calendars and your contacts and all that to better inform it. And you can generate information. But that's not what's important about Execify. That helps. But the important things is from prompt and voice, you can control your whole tool set. So with Execify, it's not draft me an email. Great, thank you. Let me copy and paste that. It's check Jeremy and Matt's schedule and Felicia's schedule. Tell me when they're all available next week for 30 minutes on Wednesday or Thursday. So you do cross checks. Okay, great. There's the time. Slack them all those times and ask them which one works. And that's not using our scheduler tool. That's just another example related to scheduling. And also send me an email and add a label to it and put it in my to-do folder. And also, now that I heard back from them, from prompt, schedule the meeting, add a Zoom, and give it this description. So you can control your tools from voice and prompt. So it's more like Siri and something that you can drive tooling. Although with Siri, you can't add contacts, you can't schedule meetings, do anything like that. So we've been able quickly to leapfrog where Microsoft is with Copilot. We've been able to get way ahead of Gemini, and we're really leading. We're at the vanguard right now of controlling your Office tool set with voice and prompt so that you can move faster through your day. And that's the big difference.
Nice. Awesome, Matt. Well, this is super helpful. Thanks so much for chatting through all this and sharing a little bit of the behind the curtain on how the company got started and what you're thinking and how you're helping executive operations teams and executive assistants and chiefs of staff and so on. What's the best place for people to reach out if they want to say hi and connect with you?
Yeah, Execify.ai, contact form. You can request demos. You can just go on the website and sign up for the tool right now, right? Log in through Google, log in through Microsoft. You can send invites out to your team. You can build an organization. We have a free tier where you have 2 accounts. So if you want to just try it with your executive, trial it, that's free for life. It's full featured. You can schedule up to 3 kind of schedules in flight. You can do 20, 30 prompts a day for free. We have that so people can actually functionally use the tool. As you grow your organization, of course, we're going to move into our charge and cost model as a business SaaS tool. So go to the website, try it. Hit the contact form. There's a variety of things. You can report bugs. You can, like I said, ask for a demo, or just find me on LinkedIn, Matt Oden, and you can find Execify there. We got a couple thousand followers, so people are starting to pay attention, and we try and put great content out for folks. And we just love partnering with people like you, Jeremy, and I've really enjoyed our conversations through this whole process of building Execify. It's been incredible, and so that's the best way.
Awesome. Great, Matt. And I'll put all those links in the show notes at leaderassistant.com/321. Again, leaderassistant.com/321. Check out all the info on Execify and connect with Matt. And yeah, thanks again, Matt, for being on the show. And thanks for putting your money where your mouth is on and your time where your mouth is on the whole EA software solution world. And I look forward to following you along the way as you guys continue to fine tune and grow and reach and help the executive operations world.
Yeah, Jeremy, thank you. Your content, what you build is incredible. So we really appreciate you having us today and look forward to partnering more. And let's get out there and save people millions and millions of hours so they can work on the stuff they really want to. That's really our goal at the end of the day.
Awesome. You're welcome, Matt. And sounds like a great plan.
All right, Jeremy. Thank you so much.
Please review on Apple Podcasts. GoBulls.com.
Hey friends, my best-selling book, The Leader Assistant, has a companion study and discussion guide to go along with it. It's called the Leader Assistant Workbook. Now, you can buy the Kindle ebook version of the Leader Assistant Workbook on Amazon, or you can go to leaderassistantbook.com and get a printable PDF version of the workbook. This version has all the space and margin in between the questions that you can write your own answers and take notes with. So it's a great way to print it out and keep track of your discussion and study guide notes. Again, go to leaderassistantbook.com and click on Workbook to check out the Leader Assistant Workbook.